And I owned a MC 909. Now the 909 got a function on it, the turntable emulation, which to me is one of the best time compressors made for digital audio.
What's up? You got your boy Dyreck, aka Native Shades, reminding you to like and subscribe, because today we're gonna be talking about the Roland MC 909. What had happened was... So what other MCs do we know? MC Search, who gave us the gas face? MC Light, who told us this here goes out to me and my DJ. And the Roland MC 909. Well, the Roland MC 909 came out around 2002. And 2002 was the year of the battle. And the MC 909, the MPC 4000, and the Yamaha RS 7000 was in a dogfight. And who would make it out alive? That's what everyone wanted to know. Battle rap was at its height, probably at its peak at the time. Eminem just dropped the movie 8 Mile, and it was crazy. Grossed $242 million. Eminem, B-Rabbit, trying to climb the ladder of his local battle rap circuit in his city. Let me tell you something. After the movie 8 Mile dropped, every town, every city, at least in America, all of a sudden had a battle rap scene. Trust me, I was there. I was outside. At the time, if you were a battle rapper, there really wasn't a lot of places you could perform. At least in New York, there wasn't a lot of places you could perform your battle rap in New York at the time. The only place was the Apollo, and you might get jumped after the show depending on how your performance was. So you didn't really just sign your name on the Apollo list. No, you didn't do that. If you went to the Apollo, you was extremely confident, or you had about 200 heads behind you ready to bring the ruckus if anything was to go wrong. But let me tell you something. After the movie 8 Mile dropped, man, there was a battle rap scene like at every local lounge, every local bar, every club. They were giving battle rappers the platform to basically come on the stage and shine. And shine, some did, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, Roland, yes, Roland, decided to drop the MC 909. As far as the features of the 909, it was 16-bit, 44 kilohertz of amazing sound. The 909 shared the same sound engine as the Phantom, and people loved the Roland Phantom because of its realistic sound. A piano sounds like a piano. A violin sounds like a violin. You had an arpeggiator that you could sync it to the tempo with a machine. You had mute groups. You had auto chop. You had real-time time stretch, one of the dopest real-time time stretch algorithms that was out. Most machines didn't even have it back in 2002. It had a copy and paste function where you could copy and paste your hi-hat rolls to your beat and everything like that. It was like a DAW. It even had a sort of like a piano roll layout, just like you got with FL Studios, where you can change the notes and everything like that. It had the same layout. This was like a hardware DAW. You can have different track lengths in one pattern. For every part in the track, it could have its own effects. And you know the dope D-beam feature everyone was in love with the 808, where you just wave your hand and start modulating the unit? This one had 2 D-beams. It had a left one where you're doing the volume, where you could modulate the volume, and it had a right one where you could modulate the pitch. This is a DJ's dream. And that was kind of the problem, that this thing was a DJ's dream. And a lot of the producers that looked at it kind of looked at it as something for DJs. You know, they were really trying hard to push it to like hip hop producers, you know, like RZA and Timbaland and stuff. But a lot of guys were looking at it funny. They was like, I don't know, man, this thing looked like a techno box. It looked like your pump your fist rave DJ techno anthem. A lot of people was judging this thing. They were judging a book by its cover. You know, it's kind of like when you're playing ball at the park, and then, you know, some guys they call next, and you're looking at the team, and you see they got like a guy that's like 5'1", and you're like, yeah, I got that guy. And then the game starts, and the first play of the game, they lob it over your head. You turn around and see that 5'1" guy catch the ball in midair with two hands and dunk it with one, like he's Dominique Wilkins or something like that. That's how they was judging this Roland MC909. They were judging a book by its cover. I mean, how could you sleep on a unit like this with so many features? This thing was future-proof. It was like, at this time, Roland seemed like they were trying to future-proof their gear. You know, the 909, the Phantom, they gave it so many features because they were looking like, listen, 20 years from now, we want people to still be rocking this machine. And they were. But at this time of 2002, people really were not purchasing the MC909. And then give it some time, and then all of a sudden, you started hearing reports about certain bugs that the 909 had. Some of the bugs was that in song mode, there was no sustain. So when you're playing your song, you would hear gaps between your patterns. Or the fact that it was created with the plug with only a 2-prong plug inlet. So it had no ground. So you know what I'm saying? You'll be performing at the freaking DJ event. You're a pump your fist DJ, pumping your fist to the left, pumping your fist to the right. The crowd is going crazy. And then all of a sudden you push a button and zap. You get zapped and you're lying on the ground unconscious. To the point the promoter is like, oh my gosh. And somebody's like, hey bro, I don't know, man. He just touched a button and all of a sudden he just got shocked. They're like, listen, we need to call an ambulance. What do we got to do? The promoter's like, well, the crowd seems to still be in it. The show must go on. And you're lying there on the floor while everyone's just pumping their fists in a rave, jamming to the music. This thing was crazy as far as some of the bugs it had in its early design. They had issues with certain sample levels, not, you know, evened out with the other sample levels. So it's like, let's say if you're going through presets and you have one presets of like a harmony, like, you go to the other presets and it's like, and it's as loud as hell, it's almost blow out your speakers. You're like, yo, what is going on with this thing? This thing had some issues when it was released. Now, thankfully, Roland resolved many of these issues. You know what I'm saying? But at the time when they first came out, people was complaining. They was like, hey, Roland, what are you doing? Are you trying to kill us? But even with those issues, the 909 still held its own as one of the dopest machines out at the time. It had a 5080 engine from the legendary Roland XV synthesizer that was giving you some of the most expressive sounds. So dope that RZA ended up scoring the whole Blade Trinity movie and even Kill Bill. Can you believe it? The movie Kill Bill was scored with the MC909. The MC909 had a dope sequencer. It had a step sequencer. The MC909 sequencer allowed you, while the sequencer was playing, for you to be able to change a patch on the fly to another patch while keeping the same pattern. This thing was so dope. The patterns were so unique that guys like Jermaine Dupri used the 909 on countless hits for Mariah Carey and Janet Jackson at the time. The 909 had a mastering suite on it. You didn't have to go to the studio to master your music. You could do it right on the machine. The 909 was so dope that a DJ no longer had to worry about, if they wanted to, they didn't have to bring their turntables with them. You know, they didn't have to bring their records. They could just bring the MC909 and do all the tricks and everything right on the machine. The turntable emulation on the 909 was like a real live turntable. Like, you really couldn't tell the difference. You had a USB where you can import and export your samples. It was 128 megabytes, expandable to 272 megabytes. The unit was just, it was just dope. And to tell you the truth, in the sample race, the MC909 really held its own. Years later, it's like a legendary piece close to a lot of DJs' hearts, and you still even have hip-hop producers that swear by the 909 and keep it with them in the cut. You might not see it right there in live Dyreck on the table, but that's their secret weapon. Now, when the 909 came out, it was about $1,700, which was pretty expensive, but it was worth it. You was getting an all-in-one groove box. This is Roland's King groove box. They set it off with the 303 and they took it to astronomical levels with the 909. So yeah, that's the Roland MC 909. What had happened was, so this is your boy Dyreck, aka Native Shades, reminding you to like and subscribe. And I'm signing off.